Renewable energy has one major weakness, and it is brought up every time someone tries to discredit renewable energy, and that is the fact that it cannot stably produce power 24/7. Because there are changes in the environment, and the environment is what renewable energy uses to generate said energy. These changes in the environment are both long-term and short-term, making this something that is going to take more than a few batteries to solve. Now, batteries can help on a small scale, but they probably don't deserve the quantity of hype that they get. So there must be an alternative when it comes to large-scale and long-term energy storage. The first one I'm going to talk about is Highview Power's cryogenic energy storage. This works by liquefying air simply by cooling it using a heat pump, and the heat is utilised as well, because when they want to get the energy back out of the cold store, simple, they combine the heat and the cold, causing the air to expand, generating a pressure, turning a turbine. Now this is pretty good because the entire thing's simple and pretty easy to mass produce, since it uses existing technology, just insulation, heat pumps, and well, that's it really. But there is one major weakness it has, and that is the fact that it leaks energy slowly. It doesn't matter how much insulation you put on, heat will always seep out. It's just thermodynamics. Of course, this problem can be mitigated by scaling up, but this wouldn't be much of a video if I was to only talk about Highview Power. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is superconductors. Now, superconductors are essentially bits of wire with no resistance. Now, what's so great about that? Well, an inductor is a coil of wire which resists any change in current. So if you increase the current, you've essentially charged it up, and because zero resistance, you can fill it up with as much current as you want. There is one small problem. They need to be kept cold, as in even the high temperature ones need to be sat in vats of liquid nitrogen, or basically cold enough to liquefy air. Liquefy air. The few of you that have seen my previous video probably know where this is going. I do like to put technologies together. And I've also just mentioned Highview Power, who use liquid air to store energy. Using Highview Power's liquid air to keep a superconductor cool means that you are using an existing type of energy storage, except you are upping the energy density enormously. There is one other small problem, and that is it needs to be kept cold, because if it heats up and loses its superconductivity with an enormous amount of charge, say an atomic bomb's worth of energy, this happens if it loses its superconductivity. And in order to keep its superconductivity, it needs to be super cold. So there is a limiting factor to how much energy you can store in one of these things. That limiting factor is how much energy you can safely disperse in the time it would take for it to lose its superconductivity. And the limiting factor to that would well be the thickness of the wire that you're exporting energy from, because this could recharge and discharge really, really fast, meaning it could, say, cover sudden small changes in the grid as well as the large long-term ones. As amazing as this superconductor idea would be if it were ever implemented, it doesn't change the laws of thermodynamics, and that brings me to the third thing I'm going to talk about. Fuels. It's possible to store energy by synthesizing fuel to charge your energy storage, and then running it through a fuel cell to discharge. If you want to, this could be done with hydrogen, or some other gas if that's what you'd rather use. because hydrogen is not the only fuel that can be ran through a fuel cell. So as well as being able to store relatively high energy densities for an extended period of time, these types of energy storage could also be used as fueling stations for pretty much anything that uses fuel. If you use all the technologies I've just talked about in conjunction with one another, then not only does this problem go away, but your grids actually become more resilient. If you meet anyone online who claims that renewable energy doesn't work because it's unreliable and you'll never be able to store enough energy to make it all work, then just show them this video, and if you are one of those people, please try to prove me wrong in the comments.